Well, here on The Lip, we've covered the trial of white supremacist Frazier Glenn Cross, who killed 3 people at 2 separate Jewish centers in Kansas. In early September, a jury convicted Cross of the deaths, and Johnson County District Court Judge Thomas Kelly Ryan, he sentenced Cross to die by lethal injection on Tuesday. Cross showed little remorse during the trial, even mocking the sentence, telling the court he's going to rise from the grave next. So little remorse did he show. The judge handing down a lethal injection sentence. I want to point out that he's in his 70s, 74 years old, and has a health issue going on and will most likely die in prison. But the fact that they've handed this down, it speaks volumes about how they feel about Mr. Cross. What do you make of this?
Well, the guy killed numerous people in a hate crime. I think that speaks for itself. That's a terrible thing. But the man's obviously out of his damn mind. I think he was saluting Hitler. He was doing the Heil Hitler thing in court right as he was leaving. I mean, these people, he's gonna rot in jail. Right, he's talking about rising from the grave. We're all going to look stupid when he comes back. He's going to prove that we're wrong. I mean, what's the point of not killing this guy? We're going to spend taxpayer money on someone who's out of their mind, who wants to die, who's killing other people, and we're going to keep him there, and he's just going to rot in jail in a cell for the rest of his life.
That's right. Well, just to make mention of his victims, 3 victims in all: 14-year-old Reet Underwood and his grandfather, William Corporan, 69 years old. They were both outside a Jewish community center in Greater Kansas City. Mm-hmm. Also, Terry Lamano, 53 years old. And as you mentioned, none of these victims were Jewish. This is what he had to say about his victims. "I wanted to kill Jews, not Christians, and I do regret it." And then the final point that he made on the way out of the courtroom: "One day my spirit will rise from the grave, and you'll know I was right. I'm a happy man." So remorseless,
sick man, yeah.
Sick guy who shows no remorse. He's just, the only regret that he says that he has is that none of his victims were Jewish. I want to point out that in the 80s, early 80s, he went to prison. He was found conspiring to murder the head of the Southern Poverty Law Center. Wasn't able to get any weapons, and the fact that he got his hands on weapons and did 2 separate shootings in Kansas, what does that say to you? I mean, I personally don't know why they let him out of jail in the 80s. But.
No, totally. And he goes over there and he's targeting Jews. He ends up killing, 3 Christians? Were they all Christian?
They were all 3 Christians, non-Jewish.
Can you imagine how different the story would be? I mean, if he wasn't some, what we call crazy white guy, if he was maybe, if he had a big beard and he was a Muslim. I mean, this would become a terrorist attack. It would be a huge case. But he's just another crazy guy who gets his hands on a gun and does whatever he wants. So it's not considered terrorism, even though he's targeting Jews, and it's clearly a hate crime. But because he's white, it's just a crazy guy with a gun.
Right. I want to point out that Kansas restored the death penalty in 1994. No one's been executed in this state since 1965, though. And the latest sentencing and an update for you regarding Frazier Glenn Cross. He's been sentenced to die by lethal injection in the state of Kansas.